Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the InnerFight podcast. My name's Marcus Smith. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've had a fantastic day, week, or month, and I hope you're looking forward to today's guest as much as I am. I've known this guy for on and off, must be coming up to 10 years. You see him around the place. They took Dubai by storm when they got here because they started doing things in digital media that no one had ever done before. He's towed the line well, whilst also, as we chat about the show, invited or created a platform for people to share quite a lot of interesting comments, feelings, sometimes anger, and sometimes a little bit over the line. But the positive impact that today's guest is making, I think, on the country of Dubai and also on the region through digital media is quite something special. This week's show announcements, but before I do, it is the 8th of March. It is International Ladies' Day. All the ladies out there, all the beautiful ladies, happy International Ladies or Women's Day, whatever you call it. Celebrate well. And guys, just remember how important the opposite sex is for us. Very important. Happy International Women's Day, Ladies' Day. Tomorrow, Saturday, is open workout number 224.2. If you came to the gym for 24.1, if you did the workout, if you got involved in it in some way, shape, or form, you will know what all the noise has been about, what we've been talking about for basically all through January about the open. The vibes were good, and it promises to be the same this week. I don't know the workout at the time of recording. However, by the time the show comes out, we will know the workout. Hopefully you enjoyed the snatches and the burpees over the dumbbell last week. And maybe this week it will be something that makes you more tired. Or did that make you tired? We are one down. We have two to go. 10 a.m. Saturdays here at the gym. If you're not doing the workout, don't worry. Come grab a coffee, have a chat. It's a super nice environment. Lots of fun if you like seeing people get super tired. Last weekend, we were in Oman at Xterra. If you want to know about that race, which you could say was a comedy of different eras, but hop over to our news section on the site where we put all the reports of all the various events that we go to get a real feeling of what happened there. I will keep it at that. Or if you want to hop over to InnerFight Endurance Podcast, they talk about it in a lot more detail, which you can probably tell by the tone of my voice was quite entertaining. Things that are coming up. Ramadan is on its way. It might have started by the time you listen to this podcast. And if you are looking for something specific about Ramadan, how to navigate things, 5 ways to stay healthy in Ramadan show comes out on Monday, episode number 885. So check that out. Our timings here at the gym are pretty much exactly the same. Actually, we add one more track session on a Tuesday evening. That will be at Sports City at 7 p.m. every Tuesday. We'll still run the morning session, but we will also run an evening session. And we do invite you. There will be an iftar here at the gym on the 20th of March. There'll be a workout before in the gym or a run. And after that, 6:35 is iftar time. We will have food ready, laid out. It is one of our favorite community events of the year, a very traditional iftar here at the gym. Have a look at the photos from last year. Have a think about what that might mean to you and also what that might mean to the people around you. We'd love you to be here, fasting or not. There will be food for everyone. 20th of March. There are also a number of other events happening, and all of the events that we have are up on the website, innerfight.com/events. You could join us next weekend in Cat Springs, where Rob Jones is hosting a 24-hour time-lapse event, which is quite interesting. If you're not looking for something for 24 hours, that's fine. He will be up there. I will be up there from 6 p.m. on Friday evening. But if you do fancy coming up and having a look at the mountains for a walk, it's a really nice loop you can do. It doesn't have to be super hard. You can bring kids, you can bring dogs, you can bring bikes, you can bring whatever you want, really. We'll be there on the 15th. I think Friday is the 15th. Yeah, into the 16th, Saturday. There is also a load of other stuff going on endurance side. If you're looking for endurance events, go and check out the website. From a CrossFit side, the main focus for the coming weeks remains on the Open. That's it for this week's announcements. Let's get into today's show. This is episode number 884 of the InnerFight podcast. Lovin with Rich Fitzgerald. No matter where you are in the world, thanks a lot for tuning in. Enjoy the show. Here we go, Rich. Lovin Dubai, the
Marcus,
man.
the machine you are. Thanks for having me on the show.
No, it's cool, mate. I want to kick off a little bit of history. Where did the Lovin brand start?
It started in Dublin in about 2012. There was a guy called Niall Harbison, and I was a young kid with long hair and big ears, and you know, I used to run around Dublin and do social media stuff in 2008 and 9. And I knew Niall because he was the guy in the bars and stuff telling people what Twitter was and what social media. Remember when people said social media was a fad?
Yeah.
And there was always a few people who kind of championed it.
Yeah.
And he and I nearly set up a social media agency called Simply Zesty in 2009. And Marcus, I was working for a leading digital agency in Ireland, and I was too shy to talk to clients. I couldn't get my words out. My bosses kind of bullied me. And I was like, I'm not ready to own an agency. Like, these are suave, cool people who know everything, right? Yeah. And we were in a funky agency. It was cool. So I kind of willed my way into the leading social media agency in the world, what became We Are Social in London in Jan 2010. And Niall went off with a girl called Lauren Fisher and set up this agency and sold to what was the Irish version of ITV for a few $1 million a few years later.
Wow.
But when he exited that, he then started a blog called Lovin Dublin, Lovin, and it was feck Irish drink girls, Irish crack, raw, fresh, clickbait, Facebook stuff. And I went over here, built a social media department across the region under WPP after London in 2012 till 2015. Yeah. And in 2015, I was a bit burnt out. Not burnt out, but I was down in Beirut. I had 30 people down there, and I was firing one guy, and I was coming back on the plane, and then I pitched someone else to be their MD, and he accepted it. And in the meantime, I was like, my employers weren't matching my ambition, and I needed something next. And from the first few years here, thinking I would move back to London, I realized, actually, this is cool. And I hadn't really been feet on the ground in Dubai because I was in 12 offices across the region, like from Iraq to Egypt to Amman, like all over the place, like with regional clients. So I didn't really get a feel of on the ground stuff. And then I emailed him and I'm like, no, what are you doing with Lovin Dublin? It's funky, it's cool, like... and then I asked guys in our agency who would do all the media spend and all the ITPs and the media stations and the radio stations, ARN and NBC. And I said, guys, do you think there's a gap in the lifestyle? They're like, no, Rich, you're stupid. Like, there's no gap in lifestyle. We have Stylist, What's On, Time Out, Shortlist. They were all there, right? And I'm like, yeah, but they're not doing digital. And they're like, yeah, they are. And I'm like, no, they're not. Like, and because they were doing about 10 posts a week. And we started Lovin Dubai. I skip a little bit, but I go back on the 1st of September 2015, and we started with 14 posts a day, like articles fresh. And we did 250,000 page views in the first month. But so that summer 2015, I've gardening leave, I'm in Bali, and I messaged Niall, and I'm like, hey, and he's like, oh, talking to the MD today, we'll do a franchise thing. So I signed a 10-year area developer with him, with like $20,000 a year for the license for the first year, then up to 40 and then 5% of royalties for like 16 countries or something. Wow. And I got a bit of cash together, joined the other places MD, right? All the $160,000 had run out in 6 months. I hired an expensive editor from ITP. Page views weren't increasing. I was under pressure in my other company, and I bit the bullet. I jumped, and I became editor on the 1st of May 2016. Still 250,000 page views from the first month that I clickbaited it. I can't spell. I let the editor go, and I clickbaited it even more, right? I just worked 14 hours a day in Astro Labs with one laptop. Everyone who came to Dubai, like Steven Gerrard dancing on the stairs, like Justin Bieber and Barassi, like all the stuff, we were fast with it. Yeah. And we just went with everything on Facebook, and we just aggressively went after page views. 7 days were shutting down in the 2016. Yeah. Mark Ricks was back and forth with Daily Mail Group. What can he do? Can he get his team jobs? I said, what are you doing with your social profiles? He goes, I don't know. I'm like, well, I know what to do with your Twitter account. Can I have that? And he then thought he got permission from Daily Mail Group. He thought he was selling me everything. I didn't know I could merge Facebook and Instagram back then because I'd been told no with global brands, Henkel and HSBC for years to buy Facebook. But we got a letter from him, CEO, saying people used to get their news here from this account. They no longer can. Can this account have it? And in December 2016, Dublin HQ Meta then, Facebook then, merged their 600,000 Facebook fans on top of our 200. We got to 800. Their 40,000 Instagram followers on top of our 20. I saw them ticking over the night, those 8 hours. I remember playing five-a-side in JLT, and I'm like, this is so exciting. We're jumping, we're growing. Yeah. We were ahead of them. We were 750,000 page views in 2016. They were 500, 7 days. By January, we went to 1 million, 2017. We just started selling to restaurants. That was the turning point of the business. We had a retainer on social media from Infinity Middle East, 50 grand a month dirhams to keep us going, to pay the bills. Money was gone. Yeah. I sold my car, sold my bike. I had nothing. And there was a guy who's supposed to pay me rent in my 2-bed in Sports City, and he stopped paying me. I was in a prayer room on a Friday crying in Astrolabs when that was the weekend. And but I just kept going. And then by June that year, the Qatar blockade, the 5th of June, we wrote 23 articles that day. End of the month, we wrote an article that went viral globally about Rihanna and a boyfriend from Saudi. 3.2 million page views, 18 million page views in 2017. And then we crossed over to 1 million Facebook fans when that was big. And we just built a business model around sponsored content. And it just went from there. I'll stop. I'll breathe.
Mate, it's mental, but one of the things that hits me straight away is insane amount of hard work and just getting content out there. Where does that drive come from, mate?
Yeah, I don't know. You're good at deciphering where drive comes from. I was just thinking as I was walking in and seeing your lovely place here, how inspiring it is to see people come in who have drive, either in their fitness or in life, and I think I like that of our team. I wanted to be a football coach. I like seeing the team. We have 90 employees now across 11 countries technically and 5 offices. Yeah. And I like seeing that. I like building something. My personal drive, I was always driven as a kid, 5 siblings, 3 brothers, fighting for share of voice. Right. My dad died when I was 6 or 7. He had businesses. I want to emulate him. Just being underestimated, not being, being treated as a bad child in school, not being good at rugby, not making it as a footballer, not actually, everyone thinking that you're never going to do anything or you're never even going to be personally happy or whatever. So it's kind of I'm not driven to prove people wrong, but I'm definitely, I don't mind being a little bit underestimated, but there's some inner drive.
There's something, mate. There's something. And I've always felt that, Rich, and I agree. There's a lot of people in your industry, and maybe we leave them alone, but it's all about ego. Whereas you've done something incredible and you're continuously driven to do something incredible. But ever since we met, it's the same Rich. And we just have a chat just it's you've not come in here to show off, whereas a lot of people in media, it's all about, I've built this company, I'm Lovin Dubai and it's all quite ego driven. But for you, there's something, I've always felt that there's something, you're the guy who I see at triathlons and you're always just like, hey, Marcus. And I remember when I was running around the track and you're just there with the camera and you're like, hey, mate. And I'm like, this guy owns this big media company, but he's just, and it shows that your drive is something special, mate. And it's not for anyone, it's for you.
I was watching a video yesterday that Huda Beauty put up, and she said in 2020 she hired a CEO because all her friends around her said that you need to get it to the next level. And then she realized that didn't work, right? And she realized that the stuff that she likes is product, is listening to people, is designing what makeup to put out. And apparently that should be a product person, a CEO, but she's like, yeah, but I like it. Yeah. And I like making content. I like being on the newsroom floor, and I'm not going to let that go,
Yeah. 2015, Facebook came around in 2005, but things moved pretty slowly. You probably say they moved fast, but I think for the first sort of 10 years, we didn't really know how to behave with social media. YouTube would take 5 minutes to load a 1 minute video. So it wasn't, I remember it so well, mate, because it's when I was building our business and trying to sort of learn more about what was going on in the global CrossFit scene, and information was hard to get. But I guess from 2015, things seemingly have moved quite quick. What's caused the speed at which things have gone? Like you said, you know, Instagram merging with Facebook and like everything coming together, and, you know, 2019, 2020, everyone wanted TikTok. I'm still not there, by the way. And, you know, Twitter's been around forever. What is it gone faster, or what causes the speed of change in digital?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think we could look at different aspects that drive acceleration of digital transformation, mobile penetration, 5G consumption. Like, there are people who talk about not oligopolies, but like that the platforms are eating the world, and, you know, tech is eating the world. And definitely, like, I talk about our business swimming against two currents, right? So we're swimming against the platforms on one side, Facebook, TikTok, right? Because, you know, they're hungry beasts and you keep feeding them. But we're a media company and you're making a podcast. So they'll eat us both up. They'll gladly accept us both, and they won't give any preferential treatment. And then on the other side, that's on the platform side. On the other side, there's the creators, and the creators can push stuff out just as like we can. So what's the point of being a media company anymore? But on the acceleration side, like, you know, it did accelerate, but I think product features, like Mark Zuckerberg tried the metaverse stuff in 21 or whatever, $12 billion a year, and he's gone back to growth hacking. Look at how he's growth hacking Threads. Like, their sales team, Meta, in the region are only talking about Threads and WhatsApp Business. Instagram sells itself. Like, he's a master growth hacker, right? Like, I even think that, you know, who knows, but I think they're the one to bet on, because the other guys have new CEOs in place. Like, I do personally think that Apple won't be cool in 10 years.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be cool in 10 years.
Why is it cool now?
The Steve Jobs halo effect, and really well managed, right? Like Tim Cook is an operator, but he's got a year or two left. Like, you know, but I mean, it's a good product. It does luxury well, and everyone is aspirational. Everyone wants that little bit of luxury, and it just nails it. Like, Scott Galloway talks about that the science behind having the God effect, Steve Jobs, and all the other stuff that goes into it. They do luxury well. Anyone who nails luxury, there's a really good podcast called Acquired, and I've been listening to Hermes, how they got it right. Hermes and Louis Vuitton, they were two orphans, and they were both founded their businesses in 1839, and the premium that those companies get, you know,
it's crazy. Yeah.
So that's what Apple are in that space. But yeah, the social media penetration, it's just the evolution of creators and stuff. Like, I was just back from Web Summit, and there was a guy on stage saying the rise of AI is coinciding with the decline of social media, but we're still creators. We're still doing that. You know, Meta said their two bets are AI and metaverse and Web3. So I think both, you know, crypto's up, Bitcoin's up to 62 this morning or whatever, 61. So they're both there, right?
Yeah. It's interesting. You said something there that social media is in some kind of decline. What's happening there, mate? I mean, we use it. Obviously, we're far from fitness influencers. We influence a certain small, very minute part of the population here. But what we've seen is that social media is in decline. It's cluttered. There's too much. It's too confused. And when you confuse a human too much, they block you off. So what is that? I mean, that's what we see in fitness. Where is it? Like, why is it in decline elsewhere?
Like, the promise of social media, Web 2.2, like the mission of Facebook at the time was make the world more open and connected. They broke society. They got fined for it, like Analytica, all this sort of stuff. Elections coming up. They had to curtail. They had to, you know, allow people to turn off comments because hate speech, all this negative stuff, right? I remember when we started the Lovin Dubai live show in 2018. That juice was really high. They were showing it everyone, and then there was people killing each other in cars in the US with like DoorDash or whatever, that they were like, you live streamed that? Yeah. Or Logan Paul was doing a live stream in Asia somewhere, and he showed a dead body in the woods, right, on YouTube. And they're like, we're not putting money there. So they had to pull it back a lot. But, you know, there's a few IPO listings recently, like Reddit had IPO'd, and that's a Web 2.0 company. And the multiple that they've got is like way, way lower than Snap got when they IPO'd. Like, social media companies were the darlings, and now they're not, right? Other companies like Nvidia and stuff are the new darlings, and people who are into this, like OpenAI is the new darling, right?
Yeah.
Like under Sam Altman. So there's that, but also like think of social media behavior. If you ask people who were in your class this morning at 5:30, not that you would do this because they're there to do CrossFit, but like if you ask them, when's the last time you posted on your feed? And then if you ask them the same thing, when's the last time you shared a memory of an event that you did in a WhatsApp group with your family or friends? Right? And like last night, I was at the tennis with my partner and my mum, and I shared a picture of us at the tennis. Not on social media.
Yeah.
So, but Zuck, they own the messaging apps. But so we talk about media as like consumption. So mediums are where we consume, right? Media is a lens, and InnerFight and this podcast Endurance talking about mindset. That's a lens. But where does it get distributed to? And we talk about 5 areas. Streaming can be Spotify or Netflix. That's one. Podcast. So podcasts are shows, right? They're TV shows. If you want to sell a book, you go on Diary of a CEO. You don't go on Jonathan Ross anymore, right? Or Oprah, you go on Joe Rogan. Like you sell your book on podcasts, and they're video shows. And it's just the wrong word from them, but that's what you do. Yeah. They're on demand. And then newsletters are the new websites. Websites are dead too, not just magazines. Websites are also dead. It's primary engaged media. It's the stuff that comes to you, not you go to them. So it comes into your app on your newsletter app in your phone, not click www. So newsletters, like all the big modern media companies in the US in the last few years, Semaphore, Puck, Axios, they're all newsletter-led companies. They have a link, but they're Morning Brew, 6 million daily active subscribers of a newsletter in the US. It's bullet points. It doesn't write original content. It talks about business. Why? Because there's 30 million people who use Robinhood to trade, retail trading, not with brokers. So you need media around that. And they didn't make a website. These people don't go on wallstreetjournal.com. They do not. Yeah. They consume Morning Brew's quirky, well-written newsletter, 6 million. So that's the new magazine. And then the fourth thing is vertical video, like TikTok and vertical video. You do cuts of this show, people are going to see it. And then the fifth thing is messaging apps. So messaging apps is the new. Look at the bottom left-hand corner of WhatsApp and look at the channels. That's the new place for news.
I was thinking, I saw something on LinkedIn the other day where a gentleman had traded his iPhone for an old school Nokia for like 9 months. And he posted about it, and obviously it got quite a lot of interaction because I think a lot of people probably wish that they could do the same. And so he just used all his messaging, WhatsApp and stuff through a laptop and went with Nokia. And it got me thinking, maybe, is it like, should we just downscale what we've got coming in on our phone? So just take a phone and just go, okay, I have to live with WhatsApp because kind of if I don't, I'm not really, it's difficult to, exist. And this might sound a little bit dramatic, but I think it's quite hard for people to exist without that messaging app. But what's now happening is that messaging, it's like WeChat in China. More stuff is coming through. So we can't hide, right? We're forced in this guy with his Nokia.
Marcus, I don't think technology or these apps are negative. I think they're net good. I think you can have a healthy relationship with them. Yeah. And I think they can be abused and they can cause stress and they can be bad. But just while you were talking there, I was thinking of Warren Buffett because he never had an iPhone and people said that he missed out the tech. He has an iPhone now because he invested in Apple only when they started doing dividends. Yeah. So like people misunderstand. So he knew what he does, right? He goes to his office, same team, and he reads earnings reports and he makes investments. So he doesn't need anything else. He doesn't need WhatsApp. He doesn't need anything else. But he makes investment that gives him dividends, and he can exist in his lunchbox and he can be one of the top 5 Berkshire Hathaway, most valuable companies in the world in that environment. So it kind of depends. I agree. I think the WhatsApp example you gave is really interesting. I think WeChat and its e-commerce is maybe it's a bit different. And I know that we can't even use WeChat or Weibo or whatever they're called. But I was talking to a guy who just moved here from the UK, and he was like, someone was delivering me food and they messaged me on WhatsApp, and I was like, why is the delivery person messaging me on WhatsApp? Like, you know, I was at Web Summit, as I mentioned, and there was Irish people over, and they sent me a text message to arrange the studio. And I'm kind of like, we don't do that here. Like, everything's on WhatsApp. And I'm like, they feel like they're intruding, right? But like, so WhatsApp has become, and it's like Kareem have become a super app in different ways. Yeah. But WhatsApp in this region is a mind in itself, which is why embracing what Meta are pushing WhatsApp business, for a business like yours, is important. For a business like Warren Buffett, or if you, I don't mean to be derogatory, but if you're in a farm or if you're on a beach or whatever, then it's not as important. But again, I go back to, like, I think we should embrace technologies. And I don't think, like, you know, I don't think that a break is fine. You know, a break from consumption of anything could be good.
Good, yeah. Let me ask you then, why did you send that picture from the tennis through to people in your WhatsApp? Why have we got to a stage where 5 years ago you might have posted that up on your Instagram, but now you won't?
I don't know. I think, you know, I've known this girl for a few years, and we started what became a more serious relationship a few months ago. And I posted a photo on Valentine's Day, and then another one next day, and it got shared like 84 times on Instagram. I'm like, who's DMing this to someone else? And I'm kind of like, it made me wonder, right? And they're like, Rich, because they're not used to you showing this side of your personal life. And I'm like, fair, but like, so I don't know, like, something's definitely changed. Like, Facebook was only friends, and now Instagram is more public on followers. Yeah. But we you know, and Instagram are changing their algorithm now to be more like TikTok, right? Like, Instagram, Mark Zuckerberg, they were supposed to be killed by TikTok 2-3 years ago, just like they were supposed to be killed by other stuff. And in the past, they just bought things so they couldn't die. They just bought the thing that they saw coming up. They had technology that showed app downloads that they bought that they're not allowed to do with anti-competition, antitrust now. So he really has to change his product. Like, the girls on Lovin Dubai show this morning were talking about the app, the map. You know, the map on Snapchat that shows where your friends are when you log in? That's on Instagram now.
Is it?
Or, yeah, not in this region yet, but that's going to be there. Like, the avatar showing that Marcus is elsewhere on Kite Beach or here, you know, or anywhere else in the mountains or wherever. But like, but that's now coming, and the girls have privacy. But Snap have perfected it for years. It only shows up when you log in. But he's doing that instead of whatever. And what he did with the algorithm, he admitted defeat on the algorithm that made Facebook, the friend connection, the recency, and now he's copying the other trigger points, the other what's the word, like signals that show engagement, because he wants to hook us in the way TikTok does. So but to answer the question, who's posting these TikToks and these dancers? Creators. So creators are winning social media, and we're on messaging apps to our family and friends.
It's so interesting. I remember 2013 when we built the gym in Alcaz, the first sort of location that we built, and I hired a photographer and full time, and a lot of the members were like, and the staff were like, mate, what are you doing? And I said, well, I think this social media stuff will be good. Everyone's getting smartphones. Everyone wants a picture of themselves. And if we can give them the pictures that are actually professional shot, they're going to do our marketing for us. And it worked. We had a really good time of it, because people would be happy to post pictures, bar a few people that would message us and say, I look shit in this picture. And I'm like, it's how you look. But, you know, that obviously there was, that worked for about 4 or 5 years. And then coming into sort of 2020, it dropped. And then when we came out of COVID and people came back to gyms, we could send, and we still have photographers working in the building, we could send out over 100 pictures at once to clients. And previously you'd get about 30% of them would be posted in social media. And now it's less than 5%.
Okay, so you observe it from that.
I'm seeing exactly what you're saying.
But it might be going somewhere. It might be going in.
I believe it is,
chat
Rich.
apps and stuff.
I believe it is. I think people are still, because I think we're still a race that likes to share.
Yeah.
We like to share moments.
Yeah, and capture memories.
I think that's what's beautiful about phones and about, I'm the same. Like, you have a family group and you share certain things there. And we like to, although we like to be present and we like to think we're more present than we are, we also like to share moments. And we've been able to do that through media, through digital media. We've been able to share, even though people are not with us. We've been able to make it feel like, and then, you're at live gigs and people are on FaceTime. That's all a bit weird for me, but still it's kind of nice, but it's on a private forum or on a private platform rather than like Instagram Live. Is that even a thing anymore? Does it work? I don't know.
Does a bit, but not really. Yeah.
Let's go back then to Lovin Dubai. You guys kicked it off. And I've said it to you so many times before, mate. I think you've done a beautiful job of being so edgy, but you've probably upset a few people, but you've just done a great job of making people laugh, putting out good content. And in a region where we're so multicultural that not everyone gets the joke the same way, and you have to navigation is so hard. I guess the question is, how do you approach it? How have you managed to sort of dance on this tightrope and still be sat with me today?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not a journalist, and I came from the marketing agency world, so that's a blessing and in one way. But my sister Casey is a journalist, and we wanted to be a media company. We weren't disrespectful to the media industry. We have the National Media Council, MRO licenses. We hire journalists even to do our branded content.
Right.
We believe in the journalism profession and media. We just need to do it in different ways, like the 5 things I talked about. Towing the line's been hard, and but media is so new here, right? People, you're doing a podcast, YouTube. It's not planned.
Yeah.
If we round the clock back, the Ottoman Empire banned the printing press. The printing press, the Gutenberg press, is 15th century. For 300-400 years, there was no printing press in the region, right? Yeah. The first printing press, there was one in Egypt. I saw it in the Scandaria Bibliothek in the summer, 18-something. First printing press in Riyadh was in 1953. That's a week ago in the history of the world, right? And the Times in the UK launched in 1775. Okay, New York Times about 1850. 1775, the British Times. The first newspaper in Saudi, Al-Aswad, something Al-Aswad, was in 1775, 200 years later. Media is so new here. Yeah. And the US Constitution was written in the 18th century. The First Amendment, it says freedom of speech. So people take that as a media guideline. It's not. Media doesn't have to be constitution. The law has to be constitution. So I don't know how to figure this out. Saudi have just set up media councils and stuff. UAE have been doing it for a while. The UAE wants to be the media capital of the region. Dubai does, but there is a bit of a love-hate relationship, because sometimes people get trigger happy and they take screenshots of WhatsApp groups, as we talked about, of comments on the Lovin Dubai section, and they're like, you did that. And I'm like, that's society. That's the hate speech that happens on these platforms. Go speak to Facebook for not adding hate speech control mechanism. And they're like, Rich, did I need to bring a lawyer to this meeting? And I'm like, look, if you want us to hire journalists and to do something, we're going to do this, and we're going to do it without Western pressure. We're going to do it. I'm an immigrant. I speak a bit of Arabic. I want to do this in the region where no other media person ever did. Rupert Murdoch never came here directly. No one ever did. That's my goal. That's what I want to do. And I don't want dead bodies like Al Jazeera have on journalists, right? We have 2 journalists in Gaza at the moment, and we decided, when the genocide started, we decided to pay them without them posting. So we do the work elsewhere. But we think the Lovin brand, it's again, I was thinking on the way in, why is InnerFight so good as a brand in the competition around you? Lovin Dubai works, right? Because it stands out as a brand. And I'm lucky that this city is a thriving economy, and it's really multicultural. And we just have to navigate that. But our rules are no Islam, the Prophet, peace be upon him, no leadership and no defamation. Don't say InnerFight isn't a good place to go, because how dare I? Who the hell am I to stop you from earning a living? And that's the rule. And like, if the Western world wakes up eventually and realizes that the environment here for media is better, it's not toxic, it's not phone hacking dead kids' phones, right? Like News of the World got shut down for. We don't do that here. That's good, you know?
Yeah.
So like, and you know, we have a journalist now, Lumna, she's amazing. She's ex-editor of Arabian Business. She's growing our Smashy Business platform. And she's like, oh, I need to hold them to account. I'm like, no, you don't. The law will do that. You need to tell stories that didn't exist, like in a positive way or whatever, you know? And like, but we will do that. But it is tricky. We're in 22 cities. I have a journalist in Baghdad and in these places that I'm kind of like, what's the future? How do we keep them safe? And how do we do media in the right way? And we need support. Like, we need people who understand us, and we need governments to understand us, and we need support, because we will do media in these places. We've not, as I said, we've 90 employees. We are hiring people when all journalists are going to PR agencies because media aren't hiring them. We're hiring them. We've the biggest Snapchat shows in Saudi Arabia. We have presenters there that, like, you know, this is what we're doing. We're trying to, against those two currents, like in media, we're trying to build a viable modern media company. And yeah, like the trigger stuff, like I could tell 50 stories about anything from Naked Men and JBR to McGettigan's Q post-pandemic, the licenses being changed, like all this stuff, like the heat that we feel, like the calls that I've had, my passport taken for 18 months, like speaking to the public prosecutor, like all this stuff, the heat and the pressure that I've had for 8 years, like I could go on at length about it.
How do you? I was going to come to that, mate. Not that we want to share about the hot water that you've ended up in, but sometimes when you go on Lovin Dubai Instagram, there's a lot of really angry people, and they're using your platform as, I see it as, they're using it as therapy to speak out. How do you handle, I wouldn't say the hate mail that you get, because I don't think anyone hates Rich. I know you're a good bloke, and everyone has to know you're a good bloke. You're a good bloke from Ireland, and you've said it, and if by the end of the show people don't get it and they've not listened properly, you're just trying to do something, like you're having fun with what you're doing, which is, for me, is fucking amazing, right? But the heat that you guys get at certain points, if it's through comments, if it's through someone taking your passport for 18 months, how do you deal with that as a human being, as Rich, who's just trying to do something good for the world?
But how does anyone in your profession or your sports, how does anyone deal with anything that you have to push through things? How does anyone deal with pressure? How do you get to the top of tennis or the top of the difference between being a CEO of a listed company? How do you push yourself? I want to be the CEO of a listed company. I want to be an immigrant who lists a company in Tadawul in Saudi. Nice. Right? I want to do that. My grandfather listed a company in Ireland. I want to be a CEO who runs a media business against the odds, you know, across a region that no one gave hope for or whatever. So how do you do that? You have to, at some point, manage pressure, you know, and, you know, the heated comments and, you know, all that sort of stuff. Some influencers, when they post things and they get heat, they delete or they turn it off. Yeah. We don't do that because we don't mind if Lovin Dubai gets heat, because that's our product, that's our brand. And if people say you're not Lovin Dubai, well, we're not an influencer. We're not selling hats and T-shirts. We're selling content for free, and then we're monetizing that audience. And we will take the heat. You know, in the UK, people in Liverpool still don't buy the Sun newspaper because of how they treated Hillsborough in 1989, right? Now, if we ever do something that we should be cancelled over, we'll try and navigate that in the best practice crisis management and social media. But there are things that we hold our hand up and we make mistakes for, right? There's times where, because of how things, I remember we got cancelled for posting an advert for an Andrew Tate event in Dubai. And I'm kind of like, that was an approved DTCM licensed event that we got paid money to promote as an ad.
Wow.
Right? There was nothing in our ad that was insulting of anyone. right?
Yeah.
But we got absolutely killed over it by trolls on Twitter, and still are a year later. We apologized. We took the post down. We apologized on an article. They wanted more, right?
Of course.
And, and in the heat of the backlash, the event was postponed. He still came and everything like that. But there was nothing, there was nothing that breached the media guidelines. There was nothing that we did that was wrong, right? What was wrong was the triggered, what we don't want to incite hate or create unrest in the society. And if that happens in our comment section, then we turn off the comments or we remove the hate speech. There was some racist comments last week over the metro pushing, right? We don't like that. We don't want racist comments. Dubai isn't a racist city, right? But one of our journalists then did a post with a picture of Donald Trump saying this has shown we didn't publish it. This has shown that Dubai has a bigger problem. In other words, that we're a racist country like Trump and America. I'm like, we're not though. Like there are people who said derogatory comments towards a certain nationality in that. And those people probably are racist.
For sure.
And they shouldn't be. But that doesn't mean the whole country is, so city is.
You're so passionate about it, Rich. And I can see it. I'm connecting the dots. You want to IPO this thing. And it's driven, we've started at the history. I can kind of see where it's going. How do you navigate not taking certain things to heart?
I do take things to heart. Yeah.
How do you sleep at night? So how do you
doing things like people who come to InnerFight do. Like I train every day. Yeah. I got off the plane last night. I went, as I said, after the plane, my mum and my partner were important, so I gave them an hour, and I'm still up this morning with a PT session. Like, even though I'm semi-injured, I'll be in the pool. I'll be up at 5 tomorrow morning. I had a chance to go to a networking drinks event in Qatar. I didn't go. I left the team I'm with to go off. It's that discipline, it's that regular discipline, that compounding effect. And I found an outlet through sport and through that, when that passport was taken, 3 hours on a Saturday morning in Al Qudra, seeing all you InnerFight guys flying by me, but I was doing it for mental health, right? Yeah, sure. I've done an Ironman, finished one, tried 3. I've done 10 halves, right? I've done marathons, and then people are like, "Hey, Rich, why don't you do the World Majors, or why don't you go to Kona?" I'm like, because Augustus Media is my Everest. Yeah. This is my thing, right? And I will always do, as long as I'm physically able, I want to do, I know this is a nice outlet for me, sports, but it is for mental health. And I don't mind posting about PBs and things like that, and I will aspire. And, I was kind of joking with you before we started that I made turning 40 an excuse, and you're kind of like, I'm not going to insult him, but that's bullshit. I'm 46. But there was a guy we interviewed this week, Fadi Gandouri. He's really famous kind of in the tech world here. Listed at RMX, he's at WAMDA. Yeah. And Lubna said, "Guy, isn't he strong? Isn't he buff, right? And he's in his 60s. So, sometimes I think that Dubai is a fast-paced city, and it's an excuse to be decrepit and feeble when you're 60. You can't be healthy. But we need to prove that myth wrong. We need to prove that living in the desert and we can sustain it. And for me, that's important. To show the young people who are coming into my office complaining of every excuse under the sun, right, about being tired and whatever. I'm going to show them that's an excuse, and you don't have to be that.
And your words and your actions are fully aligned, mate. I see you working super hard, and I see you at more sports events, at Al Qudra, at triathlons than I see a lot of leaders and a lot of CEOs. But we're seeing, I think, more people are moving over to that side. Previously, if you're working a lot, there was a good excuse to be overweight and not to be in shape. But we're seeing quite a nice shift. We definitely see it here at the gym. We're seeing this super nice shift and this understanding finally of health. And like you said, it's for my mental health. It's for my mindset, and physically I'm better from it. Is the media, because the media industry sort of historically has always struck me as quite sort of unhealthy. Is there a shift in the media industry? Are the leaders of other big media companies following Rich's footsteps?
I think when I was in the advertising world, I felt it, client service, like any service industry, I felt it very unhealthy. And hours and service, and also the culture around booze, especially in London and stuff like that, and other substances and stuff like that. And I go to some conferences. I was in Vegas recently, and those people aren't healthy. The big leaders, some of them are, but like the general industry isn't that healthy. I think our culture at Lovin Dubai is relatively healthy. I see people have a good relationship with work-life balance. You know, we have evening shifts so people don't have to stay after 6. Like, I've learned from the things that I can put in place. But no, I think generally, like, industries, especially industries that are under pressure commercially, need more from their staff, right? Like businesses as well. But if you're in a tech company, like people in our industry would have been jealous of how little work, inverted commas, little work, fat and happy Googlers and Facebook people, that cushy tech job, because we didn't have that. I didn't have a cushy tech job. When I was doing social media for all these clients in the years, and, for me to get out of bed and to go to the gym while I was doing social media and then going for drinks in Beirut and whatever, all those years, it was almost impossible. But then when I had a more healthier relationship with, right, I've decided I'm going to do morning stuff and not nighttime stuff. There was a year when I was editor of Lovin Dubai. That year I did the PR thing. Like, I almost like created an alter ego. I remember when I was in London, I was known as the burrito guy because I did 52 burrito dates for a year while I was working I wanted to be taken seriously as a social media strategist, and I was known as the blogger, right? And when I replaced the editor, I was known as Rich from Lovin Dubai, and I like, that was an alter ego. That was the journalist who would go to press events and would socialize. But I was like Richard, the wannabe CEO, the wannabe business person. But I was at the opening of an event recently, or something of a members club. And they're like, will you join? I'm like, no. Like, what would I be doing in a members club that has dinners with people and has cigars and stuff? Like, if it's a members club like here is, your cafe, like, if it's a members club that's open from 5 to 8 a.m., that's geared towards business people, like, that's a business idea that I'll pay 20,000 dirhams a year for that. That's like, that's a nice lounge afterwards. That's like is there, but not called that. That would be me, because I see you in Al Qudra and I'm inspired by you, right? I'm not inspired by someone the equivalent to you who's in DIFC and Zuma or whatever, Roberto's with cigars and stuff. I'm like, okay, cool, but like, meh. I don't want to be that. I want to be like Marcus, who's like up and healthy and still doing sport and stuff. And all the people I meet at the races, they're my kind of people, not the people who are in bars or, you know what I mean? And like, because you can see the bags on their eyes, you can see their bellies, you can see, it's not cool to be able to know every whiskey behind the bar,
You've said a few things that, like, you've said no to, such as networking events, PR events, this kind of stuff. And I think that's probably becoming easier for you to say no, because you're confident in the way that you're going. And actually, if it's like, I see a lot of people doing it. Like, we hosted Allianz Insurance here the other day, and they chose to have their year kickoff meeting here with us. And they start in the morning with a workout, healthy breakfast at the cafe. I talk shit with them for under the banner of motivation for half an hour or so. And
I've seen you talk, you're good. Yeah.
They go into their meetings. We fed them. They wanted a vegan menu for lunch. We give them that. And I had a chat with the CEO at the end, and he said, this is the way that it's going for us.
Okay.
And I asked him a similar sort of question. I was like, how accepted is it? He goes, for me, and I'm the CEO, it's super accepted. He goes, we don't want to have conversations, like you said, around the whiskey and around the alcohol and having people in an altered state. And then we come back to the office the next day, they've said something they didn't want to say.
Yeah.
Whereas I think this is something that's quite new. And
it is new. And you're right to point it out, and it's a good analogy, it's a good anecdote to explain it like that. However, and there's a lot of apps that are doing wellness for the workplace. However, Marcus, like, if there's 30 people in our office here, and I say, hey, we're doing the canal run, will you do 1K with Lovin Dubai jerseys? Not one sign up, right? And I don't want to get them out of bed on a Saturday morning, but they're not actually opting in. So, and the thing is, like, if you told them that you've got tickets for the next concert 30 tickets would be snapped up in a minute. So I don't think that it's changing that much. I think companies' cultures are more know that this works and wish people would sign up for it. But most young people, the mindset isn't there yet. I think it takes, right? Like
100%.
If 2 or 3 million people in Dubai had the InnerFight mindset, there would be more InnerFights than bars in Dubai.
That could be a bit of a mess, mate. It's interesting because I worked with one company in 2013, and it's a big real estate company here, one of the biggest, and we worked with a certain sales team that was selling a project, and I managed to get the MD on that project to change one of the KPIs for the team for their bonus for that year was related to goals that we set in the seminars that we did, all around health and wellness. They chose. So it's literally like me saying, or you saying to one of your staff, tell me how much sales you're going to bring this year. It was literally that. Tell me what sport you're going to do this year. Tell me what your physical goals are. And, we created an environment that got them to say, I'm not super happy being 10 kilos overweight and I want to do something about it. And they got, 3 times a week, you can have an hour off work at lunchtime, or there's a gym membership available. And if you hit these goals that you set, I'm going to lose 10K and I'm going to 10 kilos and I'm going to run 10K in an hour, for example. If you hit that, I can't remember what it was, mate. Not more than 10% of their annual bonus, but it was 10% of their annual bonus was linked to those health and fitness KPIs. Fair. And of course, that year, they absolutely crushed it because everyone was healthy.
Yeah, I know. And the correlation between a healthy workplace is good. I don't cross that line. And this is just my personal decision. Like, I choose not to have showers in the office because there's nicer showers in InnerFight. And I choose not to give people some money towards gym memberships. I choose to give them more salary because some people are gamers and some people have a autoimmune disease and some people need to pay for their family and some people. So I want us to be the best media company. Yeah. And I want our people to be healthy, but it needs to be their choice. I'm not going to take the responsibility. If people, no, I can't.
You've got enough to worry about.
Yeah, I can't take responsibility. There are things that I do care a lot about people, and there, I won't flex on stories of things that we do, but there's a labor law here, and we follow it. Yeah. And we do what we do for people, and they can be the best at media in our company, but I don't go outside that. I don't do other things because I've seen owners do that, and my responsibility is to be able to pay wages for our staff at the end of the month. And if I try and be all things to all people, I can't. I'm not responsible. Of the 90 people, like 8 are dads who have kids who put people to school. I need to bring money in. I love it. So and they can then choose if they choose the life. If they want to be memberships of InnerFight, sure. And we do things like we brought them to a gym, and then the gym guy was like, "Hey, this is the discount." No one took it up on it, and he's like, "Rich, can you push them?" I'm like, "I can't push them." Can't. Like we can only do so much, but like I obviously think I agree with you. There is a correlation between this mindset and whatever, but there's some people who achieve something in life and are wired a certain way, and our chemistry and our makeup isn't the same as everyone.
Yeah. That's so cool. Mate, you're incredibly driven. You know where you're going. You want to get this thing to IPO. There probably is a timeline. You probably don't want to tell me. That's not my final question. My final question is, where does it get to? Like, what's the end? When's enough for Rich? Like, you could sell this thing tomorrow, mate, and relax and come and, we could go and walk around Al Qudra camp every day. We'd have a great time. You'd have plenty of money and you could check out. Maybe not tomorrow, but probably in a 2 or 3 year plan. You're driven.
I wouldn't be relaxed camping in Al Qudra.
You haven't been with me, mate. No. I'll take you. Yeah. But do you ever think about that? Like, where does it get to?
No, I would relax in the evening, but like I think it's why did I never take a gap year? I don't trust myself, Marcus. Like I don't trust myself with the substance that I don't trust myself. I need this discipline. Yeah. This is a drug for me. This business. Yeah. I get off on it. I like it. I want to push myself. I found business is the ultimate sport, and I don't have to retire. And that's my goal, cool. Longevity and health. And Rupert Murdoch walks around the newsroom at 1992. I want to do that. So there's no end game, but there's a healthy environment where you have to understand, like, I believe business like tech is a net good. I believe capitalism can provide hopes and dreams for people. It's not, the end doesn't justify the means. Being business doesn't mean you screw someone over. You have to have ethics and morals, and like, I want to be an ethical business person, and I want to take this thing as big as I can, and like, but I can have a healthy relationship with things. Like, for a while lately, I lived as a monk. Relationship wasn't getting in.
Yeah.
But now I'm embracing it and stuff like that. And for me, that's not as a sacrifice, that's a plus. And luckily my partner gets it, right? So like that, so that's my approach to stuff. And like, let's see. I think we're in the right place with the right region, but I'm sure it'll have twists and turns along the way.
Awesome summary, mate. Great way to close as well. I thought that's how you'd answer that question, because you love it. Lovin Dubai, love it. I know the company is Augustus Media, and Lovin is only one of the things that you guys do, but you love it, mate. And it's inspiring to see the energy that you always bring, and your sister brings as well. All the interactions that we've had have just been, you guys love what you do, and they should never. It's the same. People ask me, what would you? I'll coach forever.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah,
to actually take someone and try and make them a bit better. It's my drug. It's like you said, it's your drug. The business is your drug, and that's awesome, mate. Because as we both know, there's a lot of people in the world that are doing a lot of stuff that they freaking hate.
Yeah.
So
but I like how you described it as well, and like, because the more that you run it and own it, the more freedom you have. Yeah. Like, you can camp every day in Al Qudra and take people to the next level of their fitness and aspirations. And I think that's the goal, really. Yeah.
Rich, thank you so much. We'll have you back in a few years, mate. If you're not too, I was stoked that you made time for us anyway, because I always just see you speaking on stages in Qatar and Saudi and all important places. So thank you so much, mate. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Marcus. Yeah, it's good following your journey too.